sub-HOA, the board can hit you with a special assessment, even if you vote no. Let's unpack how that's even possible and take a deep dive into the last HOA meeting. I'm Alex.
And I'm Jamie. Welcome to Highgate Unofficial, where we break down what's happening in your HOA without the spin.
At the last meeting, several owners reported that the board's attorney said something shocking. Even if the majority of homeowners vote against it, the board can still impose a special assessment.
We looked into the law immediately. And yes, in 2024, the Virginia Homeowners Association Act was amended.
That amendment took away the community's right to reject an assessment by vote. That safeguard? Gone.
Now, if the board approves an assessment, it goes through. No vote from owners, no veto. Just the board and your checkbook.
Given the board can act unilaterally, it seems that exploring other options first is the best approach.
It would be. Remember the notes that annotated that the board's attorney acknowledged that removing the Kent units from the HOA is legally possible, but claimed it was too complicated to pursue.
That's a misleading framing. In reality, there are two legally sound paths. One is to create a sub-HOA, a separate association within Highgate just for the Kent units, with their own board, budget, and bylaws to manage their own repairs.
So non-Kent owners wouldn't have to pay for Kent-specific expenses?
Exactly. It's a common tool, and one the board's attorney never mentioned. She also didn't reference the HOA's Articles of Incorporation, which, in Section 2, Item K, give the board the power to form subsidiary corporations.
From what we're hearing, it seems the board's attorney wasn't there to explore alternatives, but to tell owners what was already decided. Speaking of options, what's the second?
The second option is full withdrawal. That means, I think, but needs further confirmation, amending the governing documents with a 2/3 vote, 73 of the 109 homes. And because the Kents are geographically separate and don't share infrastructure, it seems both legally and logistically viable. In fact, both options do.
What about input from local authorities?
Glad you asked. A listener contacted the county to inquire about the necessary information to support a request to either withdraw the Kent units or form a sub-HOA.
And what did they find out?
First, let's recall that the board's attorney made it sound like forming a sub-HOA or separating the Kents was nearly impossible.
Right.
In reality, the county is entirely open to reviewing a request, but with a caveat.
What's the caveat?
The county official states, "A request to review the subdivision of your community is something we can work with you on. However, this is a bit of a novel request for us, so we'll need to figure out some of the process as we go."
That completely contradicts what the board's attorney suggested, framing approval as virtually impossible.
That sounds correct. The notes also indicate that the board's attorney mentioned being aware of only one case where a separation was approved. That implies she's aware of other cases that weren't approved.
The attorney never explicitly said whether she was referring to Arlington County, but since that's where Highgate is located, it's reasonable to assume many attendees thought she was.
That seems reasonable. Listeners, if you attended the meeting, did you assume the board's attorney was referring to Arlington County? And did it sound to you like she was implying that out of all the cases she's aware of involving withdrawal or subdivision, only one was ever approved?
Given the disparity between how the board's attorney framed the issue and the correspondence we read from the county, homeowners need to ask, was the attorney there to inform or just to tell you what's going to happen?
That's a good point. The board is made up of highly skilled and educated professionals. Omitting information like this isn't likely to be a mistake.
So the issue isn't legality, process, or feasibility. It's the board's refusal to consider other options.
Correct, which is why calling these options too complicated is misleading. They're only complicated if there's no will to pursue them.
And neither of these options was presented clearly at the meeting. It is starting to be clear that perhaps there is a deliberate effort to keep the community in the dark. And it goes beyond missing reports. We're seeing a pattern. Missing records, unshared documents, no open discussion of alternatives, using the HOA attorney as a shield, and a board steering the narrative while attempting to suppress discourse.
Listeners, what are your thoughts?
Let's walk through how assessments actually get approved.
Highgate's bylaws state a quorum is 25% of Class A members, about 27 homes out of 109.
And here's the kicker. Once quorum is met, it only takes 2/3 of those present to pass an assessment.
That's just 18 votes.
And with 24 Kent units aligned with the board, that's enough to pass assessments every time, especially if other homeowners don't attend and vote no.
It means a small, organized group can approve a major assessment, even if the rest of the community disagrees.
And here's something the board didn't mention. If a quorum isn't reached at the first meeting, the threshold drops to just 15% at the next one, as long as the topic remains the same.
That means the bar to pass an assessment can get even lower. The fewer people who show up, the more power a small group of aligned owners and the board have to push through big-ticket decisions.
That's why participation matters. When homeowners stay on the sidelines, skip meetings, avoid questions, or tune out, they leave major financial decisions to a vocal minority. And that has real costs. Let's talk numbers, because this isn't just a fairness issue. It's a financial one. And doing nothing comes with a real and rising cost.
Since the HOA was formed, the community has paid roughly $3.9 million in dues and assessments.
At least 20 cents, around $780,000, has gone directly to Kent-specific projects. Decks, garage doors, lighting, maintenance.
And now the board wants to spend another $1.3 million for deck remediation, just for the Kent units.
That pushes the Kent investment close to $2 million. That's half of all the HOA dues ever collected.
Investing this much in just 24 units, only 22% of the community, isn't sustainable. As costs rise, the Kents will take up more and more of the community's limited resources.
This isn't about upkeep. It's about structural imbalance. The more is spent on the Kents, the less remains for shared needs, reserves, emergencies, and future proofing.
And the board isn't exploring alternatives. They've defaulted to just keep paying. It's like that chapter in How Big Things Get Done, where California keeps sinking money into a bullet train to nowhere.
You're right. It's a perfect example. It's time to pull the plug on Kent subsidies.
Let's be honest, Highgate has changed. It's no longer a community of long-term owners who paid low dues while costs were low. Now, newer homeowners, who paid a premium to buy in, are expected to cover the cost of aging infrastructure, deferred maintenance, and questionable past decisions. And here's the problem. Many of the board members making these decisions won't be here when the bills come due. They'll move on, leaving others to pay for choices made today.
At the last HOA meeting, a homeowner shared photos of deteriorating stoops allowing water to seep under the Kent decks. Instead of addressing the issue, some Kent owners reportedly dismissed it, saying it wasn't a problem or that they had already tried to fix it. But HOA records clearly show that these neglected landings have caused water damage.
This is a textbook example of how some Kent owners are taking advantage of the rest of the community. Even if you assume the deteriorating landings aren't the direct cause of the structural issues, water intrusion like that always leads to damage. And when it does, Kent owners will expect others to subsidize the repair. So here's the real question. Why hasn't the HOA enforced basic maintenance for the Kent units? Why aren't Kent owners being held accountable for their share of upkeep? If the board and Kent owners don't meet their responsibilities to protect shared property, they, not the rest of the community, should pay for the consequences.
One homeowner shared something revealing. When the issue with the Kent landings came up, not a single Kent owner said, "We'll take care of it." The board didn't say, "We'll make sure they do" either. Instead, Kent owners offered excuses. The board stayed silent. And near the end of the meeting, one Kent owner gave a heartfelt speech about community and shared responsibility, while the HOA president nodded along. That homeowner summed it up like this. In Highgate, community and shared responsibility means we pay their bills. At the last meeting, a homeowner asked a series of questions the board's attorney requested in writing. Based on what we've seen, it's a safe bet those questions were never answered.
If you're the homeowner who asked those questions, we hope you're listening. Let us know. Did the board ever respond? And to the board, if you'd like to share your answers, we're happy to include them in the next episode.
Remember the letter a homeowner shared, the one where the board claimed, "There are no conspiracies. Nothing is being hidden from members." And yet, they're still withholding key documents. Leslie's Kent report, Connie's Kent expense summary. They've used the HOA attorney as a shield and keep dodging direct questions. Add the president's behavior at meetings, and if that's not the sign of a coordinated agenda, what is?
Based on what we've heard from owners, it reads like a page straight out of Project 2025's playbook.
No comment on that. A red flag or two might be a misunderstanding, but this many? It paints a pretty clear picture. Listeners, what do you think? So let's recap. The board says there are no alternatives. That's false. There are legal options to separate the Kents, and they're not even on the table. They say they're acting in your best interest, while withholding documents, shutting down alternatives, blocking open discussion, and failing to hold themselves or the Kent owners accountable for years of neglect. Maybe it's time for the owners to get their own attorney.
Perhaps so.
Show up, ask questions, demand answers, push back. This is your community, and it's your money. If you don't stand up for both, the Kent owners and the board will keep spending it on their priorities, not yours.